This is the Labor Day edition of the MeidasTouch Podcast. We've got a lot to discuss. Donald Trump looks extremely unwell. The proof of life videos and photos the White House is trying to put out are pretty unconvincing. I mean, he looks absolutely terrible in those photos. They claim that he was out golfing the other day with former coach Gruden, but those photos were taken actually on August 23rd. So they've been posting a lot of old photos and then saying, here's Donald Trump today. I saw another one. They were showing the Alabama-Georgia football game from last season, and they were trying to pretend that that was, or at least imply that Donald Trump was going to college football games, which he was not doing. And so a lot of suspicious things going on there. And of course, we've seen Donald Trump's rotting hands and those massive ankles. The White House claims that it's a minor issue, but many doctors are speculating, again, it's just pure opinion, that it appears to be serious cardiovascular and or kidney and or liver issues. But again, just opinions. You can't actually make that diagnosis. But as Donald Trump appears to be physically rotting both inside and out before our eyes, he's rotting the United States of America. He's screwing our economy. He is screwing our alliances abroad. There's been major meetings taking place over the past few days in China with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Modi. They're on video quite literally laughing at the United States of America. I mean, that's what this video that they released is intended to show. For those listening on audio, we're showing you Modi, Putin, and Xi Jinping laughing together at the United States. Modi hadn't visited China for about 7 years. Donald Trump is now a source of national embarrassment and humiliation for India based on the way the United States has been treating Modi and India, raising the tariffs against India to 50% and frankly slandering and defaming India, while also inviting over to the White House Chief of Staff Munir of the Pakistani military after Trump's family crypto endeavor, World Liberty Financial, received a huge amount of money from the Pakistani crypto fund. Speaking of World Liberty Financial's meme coin or Bitcoin or whatever the hell you even want to call it, it traded publicly today for the first time. On its first day of trading, at least as of this recording, it was down 21.7%. Even with people knowing that the Trump family is the one backing World Liberty Financial. And this has been a vehicle where, like, Pakistan gave lots of money to, and others have as well. We're going to cover that. We should cover just the continuing cruelty of this Trump regime. They tried to deport 600 Guatemalan orphans, kids between the ages of 10 to 16 who don't have parents, tried to send them off to Guatemala in the middle of the night. They were to return to Guatemala. Most likely they would have serious harm done to them, or they could die, or they don't have family members there. The Trump regime's like, oh, no, we're reuniting the family, which is a complete and utter lie based on the declarations that were submitted. A federal judge had to expedite the hearing and make, because this was all trying to be done at like 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. and the federal judge blocked what the Trump regime was doing. And then Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney turned number 2 at the DOJ, Todd Blanche, and others in the whole MAGA ecosystem was all like, the radical leftist judge, is ruling against us. We tried to get rid of those 600 Guatemalan orphans. We wanted to get rid of them orphans. I mean, why are you being so quick? Like, why? The cruelty is the point, but it's also so despicable to see that being done in the name of the United States. Another ruling that occurred at the end of last week that we haven't been able to talk about on the MeidasTouch podcast, of course. We did lots of hot takes on it and we covered it on Legal AF, but I'll just mention here the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals making a 7-4 ruling that Trump's quote unquote reciprocal tariffs against the world are unlawful. Trump does not have emergency powers to tariff the world. That will now go up to the United States Supreme Court. The tariffs remain in place until the Supreme Court makes its ruling. We'll cover that and more here on this Labor Day edition of the MeidasTouch Podcast. Brett and Jordy, it's so great to see you. So great to be with the Meidas Mighty on Labor Day.
So great to see you too, and so great to see you, Meidas Mighty. Thank you so much for spending your Labor Day here with us. Speaking of labor, we are still on labor watch. We're still on baby watch in my household over here. You can notice I am still on the show. I will be sure to keep you posted, but I'm happy to be here today. We got a lot to talk about, and these last few days have been absolutely bizarre and fascinating, watching the various kind of efforts to show proof of life for Donald Trump. And, you don't have to get conspiratorial to acknowledge that it's incredibly weird that Trump has not been in front of a camera since Tuesday and has had plenty of opportunities to do so, to speak to the press, and has not, and has kind of only allowed the press to be super far away. We're getting these photos of Donald Trump as if somebody's like spotting Bigfoot is like the only photos, and each one is kind of more bizarre than the next that we see, and only leads to more questions. And the kind of instinctual effort of these MAGA propagandists and Donald Trump himself to try to cover for him in this situation here, to try to say, listen, here is a photo of Donald Trump. Look how great he looks. Look, he's the epitome of life. And they show the picture, first off, using that language that they use. Look how vibrant and incredible and amazing he looks. I'm like, that's kind of, it's a little odd that you're speaking like that. And then every single time they posted one of those photos, it's been an old photo. Like they tried to push that he was like golfing with his granddaughter and he was with Kai Trump. They posted the photo, easily retraced back to November 2019, I think that photo was, or something, like a very old photo. Every photo they've been putting out of the guy has been something extremely old. And so you can't help but ask the question, what the hell is going on? I assume we're going to see Donald Trump resurface soon at some point. I assume he's got to get in front of a camera at some point. He can't hide out forever. But whatever has been going on in the past few days is certainly something where they feel the need to hide the guy and don't want him to be in front of a camera and don't want him to speak. I think reporters need to continue to dig into this and see exactly what the heck is going on here. I know we're going to here at the MeidasTouch Network. First, I got to toss it over to Jordy. What's up, man?
What's up, everybody? Excited to dive into today's show. And Brett, I'm just going to piggyback off that. At the barest of minimums, it's weird, right? These last couple of days have been extraordinarily weird. And I need to know, and I'm being sincere, if you consider yourself a legitimate and unbiased reporter, why aren't you drilling the Trump regime every single day at this point about Donald Trump's health? Look, we're all collectively witnessing this cover up. It's an active cover up. Don't allow yourselves to be gaslit by people around you saying it's not happening, because it is. I'd of course love corporate media to talk about other things, ask about the wars that Donald Trump said that he was going to end in 24 hours, which are still raging, the Epstein files. I'd love for them to ask about that, but they're not. We need to know why nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump is literally covering up an illness from the American people. Literally, they put makeup on the guy's hands as much as possible to conceal his discolorations, and now they're concealing him. It just blows my mind, from the dragging of the feet to being unable to walk in a straight line to the constant bruising and feet swelling. That's just the physical stuff that we see, not to mention the fact that he's clearly cognitively addled at this point. And again, in hiding. The American people need transparency, which we know we're for sure as hell never going to get from the Trump regime. So it's to the point, and I know this isn't going to happen, but we need an independent physician to come in and let the American people know what the hell is going on with Commander-in-Chief, Ben.
Yeah, the MeidasTouch Network was the first, and frankly only, then others reposted what we posted, to show during that disastrous meeting in Alaska with Putin that Donald Trump couldn't walk in a straight line. And I remember our editorial meeting about it right away. We're all like, do you all see that he's not able to walk in a straight line? And the way he would just zigzag back and forth, is just an incredibly odd thing. So we were the first to post it. And then of course it went viral because it's a really deeply concerning physical thing right there. But I go back and reflect on the massive coverage that corporate news focused on former President Biden. Parkinson's. They said he's got Parkinson's, and they came up with a whole story about how all these doctors are coming in to diagnose him, and that all these people have made the diagnosis, and that's what's happening, when that's not what happened. But they made that a constant story. Or you think back to the 2016 presidential campaign, where all the media was talking about was Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton is sick, and look at her illness, and she's coughing, and oh my God, do you hear her cough? She can't be president with that cough. And one of the reasons I like that California Governor Gavin Newsom is out there saying these things about Donald Trump is that it's really now kind of forcing this national conversation that Donald Trump's not normal, that Donald Trump is ill. I mean, an opinion, but on the inside and outside, his behavior is rotten to the core, and it's weird, and he's unable to speak in sentences. His behavior is grotesque. It is ugly, and it is frankly illogical and incoherent. But that this whole apparatus in a civilized society in the United States of America makes excuses and justifications for what's going on before us, which we absolutely shouldn't. So I'll give you an example. California Governor Gavin Newsom is basically saying, it seems that Donald Trump appears to have dementia. I mean, just go and look at the guy. There's a medical term for one of the things that when you behave like this cognitively, and that caused state regime media Fox to flip out. I could show you hundreds of clips of this, but let me just show you the one of Fox flipping out and saying, "Could you believe that Newsom says he has dementia?" Here, play this clip.
As the polls demonstrate and bear out, I've got to get your reaction to this. This is Newsom on X. He posted this, and it's really, it shows you the level that he's at, where he's suggesting the president has dementia. I'm not even going to read it, but it's basically him questioning Grok and asking, what is the byproduct of dementia? My question is, does this grow his base at all? Does this land, who is this appealing to beyond his hardcore base?
I think it's just attention. He is just doing this, trying to pretend he's Trump, he's got a new social media team of sort of Gen Zers. And it's just preposterous.
By the way, the bottom chyron says Newsom lobs false dementia claims against Trump. So Fox, which settled a defamation lawsuit for nearly $1 billion. They're now saying they're the arbiters of truth and false. But Newsom says doctors have a term for someone who rants endlessly, repeats lies constantly, and grows more incoherent by the day. Just take a look at some of Donald Trump's posts. Like let's just do this as I would as a trial lawyer, presenting facts to the jury. Okay, Fox, because you spend all this time attacking California Governor Gavin Newsom. But here's the post that Donald Trump made, which is literally a QAnon meme of himself, where it's Trump in front of the globe, and Trump says, "The world will soon understand nothing can stop what is coming." And when you look at Trump's left hand, or if you're looking at the screen, your right, it says Q plus on it. That's QAnon. That's a literal death cult. QAnon believes that their central belief is that Trump will conduct public executions of the deep state, which is a secret pedo ring that Trump is investigating. The executions will take place of Democrats on Capitol Hill. When they say the storm is coming, that's the storm that they refer to, these public executions of the deep state. That's what Donald Trump's posting on a day-to-day basis. But corporate news won't bat an eye when he does that. Oh, look, it's Donald being Donald, just posting QAnon memes. No, that should be disqualifying behavior right there. If at your company, your boss was posting himself with the Q logo on his hands, if that stock didn't plummet on day one, or if that company didn't go out of business right away, I would be shocked. But Governor Newsom then posts right away the same image of him doing it and saying the world will soon understand it's Newsom holding the Q plus. And then corporate news debates. Should the governor of California be doing this? Is this what the governor should be saying? Then you go into just some of these other posts that Donald Trump is making. He rants and raves about a subcontractor who he says was putting in stone. It should be beautiful stonework in the rose garden, but then the limestone has a huge gash on it, and Trump uncovered it using the video cameras of the White House. And now Trump's not going to pay the subcontractor, and the subcontractor is going to be banned from the White House, and the subcontractor is going to get sued by the government. And this is what Trump wants to air out, spending more time on releasing information about the subcontractor who he doesn't want to pay than the Epstein files. Brett, that other post right now.
We all celebrate Labor Day in different ways. Trump does it by stiffing contractors. It's classic Trump move, I would say.
That's what he's done that's what he's done his entire life. And then you have Donald Trump making social media posts where he claims that we brought in $15 trillion because of tariffs. And then he posts images of himself saying $8 trillion. I mean, so this is an image that was posted on his social media account. $8 trillion in tariff revenue, hundreds of thousands of new jobs. And then it says Labor Day. But that's quite literally there's not $8 trillion in tariff revenue that's been brought in, and our deficit
is not $8 trillion in revenue. Total. If you want to go, how much did the United States import in 2024? It'd be somewhere around $4 trillion. Okay. So Donald Trump is claiming that somehow we got double than the value of all the imports into the United States in tariffs. I mean, he just makes things up, and the lies are so preposterous that it feels ridiculous fact checking it. But anytime that, you put it under the smallest microscope at all, you're like, oh, it's just totally made up. It's really something like $100-something billion that he brought in. That's all from American consumers paying the tariffs. This has been a regressive tax levied on the consumer unilaterally by Donald Trump, just claiming some sort of national emergency that does not exist. We'll get to that a little later in the show, because that's what the courts are dealing with right now. And it's not that tariffs are just generally bad, but just applying blanket tariffs to anything without any strategy is bad. And it costs the American people. And there's no real strategy behind what Donald Trump is doing here. And the fact that he's doing this incorrectly and not going through the proper processes, not going through Congress in order to set these things, it's only setting the country up for further failure, especially as we see what's going on in the courts right now.
And it just blows my mind that he gets away with this totally unchecked. I mean, you look at that social media post, and we clipped that, pretty quickly after he posted, how many shares and how many reshares and how many likes and comments that has already. And for me, it's just, not to play this game, but it's everyone's favorite segment. Imagine if Biden did it. Imagine if Biden did this. Imagine if he did a post spiking the football on labor numbers and revenue and this, that, and the third, with no analytics or data that actually backs it up. Could you imagine the outrage? President Biden did this, but with data and facts, and there was still outrage. So where is that, corporate media? Why aren't you checking him on this? It's bananas.
And this is why, our audio listeners, you could check on YouTube. When I asked Brett to pull up this video of Xi Jinping and Modi and Putin and all these world leaders who are gathering in China, and they're laughing, when Donald Trump says, the world was laughing at us. The world was not laughing at us before. The world is quite literally laughing at us right now. And you have China asserting itself as a major global power. As Financial Times reports, Chinese President Xi Jinping called on Russia, India, and other regional powers to join China in challenging the U.S.-led global order, promoting multilateralism, free trade, and a more just system at a security forum in Tianjin in China. And the United States used to be supportive of multilateralism, of free trade, of a global world order where the United States, frankly, dominated and was the envy of the world. The dollar was strong. The American bond market was strong. And right now we're seeing the opposite. So when our corporate news is allowing these false narratives to perpetuate, it's harmful, because it creates this sense of we're doing okay. And that's why there's always these reports. Everything's a shock when the corporate news reports it. Oh my God, it's a shock that this happened with India. Oh my God, it's a shock that we got these labor numbers. Oh my God, it's a shock that this, and I'm like, these aren't shocks. If you've been following it, we've been covering the situation between India and the United States for 4 months. We were following what was happening with Japan for all those months as well. We've been covering these international events for so long because when I would see a narrative develop here, I'd want to see backup for it in the media of the country where American media was giving these narratives. And I was seeing the exact opposite. And I was seeing quotes from Modi. I was seeing quotes when it comes to Japan from Ashiba and Akizawa, their trade minister, who their lead trade negotiator. I'm saying, I'm just not seeing what's being reported here. And that's why it was important that I reported on these things here. There's this post that Donald Trump makes where he claims he brought in 15, so after you saw that one where it's 8 trillion, but then there's this post right here where he says that he brought in 15 trillion. More than $15 trillion will be invested in the USA, a record. Much of this investment is because of tariffs. If a radical left court is allowed to terminate these tariffs, almost all of this investment and much more will be immediately canceled. In many ways, we would become a third world nation with no hope of greatness again. Time is of the essence. DJT. When we come back, I want to talk about that post in the context of what the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals ruled, because I want to show you that as our economy is being hurt, as 15 trillion is not coming in, 8 trillion isn't coming in, 3 trillion isn't coming in, Trump is making up these numbers. Our debt is skyrocketing more than ever. Government spending is skyrocketing more than ever as he spends all this money on ICE and marketing campaigns for Kristi Noem, painting the border wall black because he has in his mind that will burn the hands of migrants and they'll never cross if you paint it black, which is, also just not like scientifically accurate about how hot it's going to, how hot it's going to be. So there's actually all this waste and fraud.
Can I just say something about that too? They're painting it black on the American side. How does that affect people coming over here? Because the other side was not painted black. I don't know if they thought that whole thing through.
But you see the plan there, and I'll talk about it more when we come back from our first break, though, is to basically say, the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, they're my new Dr. Fauci. The chairman of the Federal Reserve, they're my new Dr. Fauci. Lisa Cook, the governor of one of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve, she's my new Dr. Fauci. Meaning they get blamed. I was going to bring in 15 trillion. I was making this so great, and then I was stopped, and now we got destroyed. He's a con artist. I have to keep saying it over. A lifelong fraud. He's a sexual abuser. He's a sexual abuser who's on tape talking about grabbing women by their genitals because you're rich and you get away. He's on tape saying it. Not to mention he was found civilly liable for sexual assault. But setting that aside, this is a guy who's been found criminally liable for 34 felonies for business records fraud. He's been found civilly liable for fraud and making up fake valuations. He's bankrupted company after company after company. He's like the worst business person, and he's just doing it with our country. And I'm just sick and tired of this behavior being normalized because we're going to be the victim. We already are the victims. Things are not, he hasn't erased inflation. People are suffering out there. And he goes, problem solved. I did it, everybody. And people are like, nah, what the hell are you talking about? All right, let's talk about that and more. Oh, I do want to remind everybody, especially as we talk about international news, Meidas Canada launched today. Big Meidas Canada launch. We're going to get past 100,000 subscribers on the Meidas Canada channel, led by Charlie Angus. So you can just search Charlie Angus, Meidas Canada, subscribe to that channel. I'd love to see that channel get 1 million subscribers, but what a great first day. And I couldn't think of anyone better to launch Meidas Canada than Charlie Angus. Don't worry, we're coming to Australia next. Then we're going to be in Europe, South America, Mexico, Africa, Asia. We're going to try to spread this democracy movement across the world thanks to all of you. And one way you could help out the MeidasTouch Network is by becoming a member of our YouTube channel. That massively helps with our expansion. If you see on the YouTube, you'll see a button that says join. So you could become a member, but then gift memberships to people who may not be able to afford memberships. That helps the MeidasTouch Network so much. So check that out. All right, first quick break of the show. We'll be right back after this.
Fall is planting season. Did you know that many plants and trees actually do better when planted this time of year? But you have to know where to start. That's why I love fastgrowingtrees.com. Doesn't matter if you live in the sunny south or the air is getting a little chilly where you are, their plant experts can help you find the perfect fit for your space. They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. All plants and trees are locally grown in the U.S., ensuring they will thrive in your yard. I can tell you firsthand, this is the way to go. I ordered a lemon tree for my front yard and it was unbelievably easy. No messy car rides from the nursery, no wasting a whole Saturday hoping they have what I want. It showed up right at my door, perfectly packed with simple care instructions. And within a few weeks, it was growing and I saved a ton compared to what a landscaper would charge. Now, every time I walk to my door, I smell citrus, and anytime I want lemons, I just step outside and grab it from my own tree. Whether you're looking for privacy, shade, or just something beautiful to look at, their experts are ready to help you choose what will thrive in your yard. No green thumb required. This fall, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code MIDAS at checkout. That's 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using code MIDAS, MEIDAS at checkout. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use Midas to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Check out the link below or in the show notes and support the show. You know that constant struggle between wanting the durability and performance of stainless steel pans and the easy cleanup of nonstick? I used to think you had to pick one or the other. It would honestly stress me out until I got my hands on Hexclad. I've been using Hexclad in my kitchen for a bit now, and I could safely say these are hands down the best pans I have ever used, and you know that I take my cooking seriously. I've cooked everything from steak to scrambled eggs to fish to veggies, and not only does the food cook evenly and beautifully, but cleanup is a breeze. Seriously, these things are dishwasher safe, but half the time I don't even need it. Just a quick wipe and done. Hexclad combines the performance of stainless steel with the convenience of nonstick, and their patented hexagon design even stands up to metal utensils, no scratches. Plus, they are oven safe up to 500 degrees and come with a lifetime warranty. So yes, they literally last a lifetime. And it's not just cookware. They've got knives made with 67 layers of Japanese Damascus steel that slice like a dream. Even Gordon Ramsay uses Hexclad in his restaurants and at home, and if they're good enough for him, you know they're legit. For a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off with our exclusive link, hexclad.com/Midas. Support the show and check them out at hexclad.com/Midas, MEIDAS. Make sure to let them know that we sent you. Bon appetit. Let's eat with Hexclad's revolutionary cookware.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors, man. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at that post and it's quintessential con artist that I just showed before the break, right, Brett? It's, you know, I'm bringing in 15 trillion, all these records. We're approaching a golden age. But oh my gosh, this Federal Circuit Court of Appeals is ruling against us. And what if the Supreme Court rules against us? Our whole national security is going to be destroyed. Everything's going to be destroyed. We're going to be crushed as a nation. This would make us a third world nation, he says. And it's like, what you're doing right now to the country is what is creating those conditions. And I could show other examples as well. I mean, it's like here, like, do we have the video of Kristi Noem from this weekend where she says, like, they create this fictitious scenario where Donald Trump has already saved Los Angeles, that the city of Los Angeles would no longer be in existence right now if Donald Trump did not send in the National Guard and the Marines. He saved LA. Everybody, how amazing is this? This is the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Like, this is legitimately a crazy thing to say. Like if someone told me this off the street, or somebody that I knew, or someone was applying for a job at, whatever, and said that, I would say, I may need to get you checked in to a facility because there's something going wrong with you. But she says it with like a straight face. She looks almost like an AI. It doesn't even look human. I just want you to know that Donald Trump saved LA. And frankly, the people in LA need to be thanking him because he saved your whole city. Here, watch this.
I won't speak to the specifics of the operations that are planned in other cities, but I do know that LA wouldn't be standing today if President Trump hadn't taken action. Then that city would have burned down if left to the devices of the mayor and the governor of that state. And so the citizens who live there, the small business owners in downtown LA, they're thankful that President Trump came in with federal law enforcement officers and helped support keeping those streets open, keep their homes and businesses from burning down, and made sure the law and order was restored.
Wow. And then California Governor Newsom responds, ha, 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 ha. And then I'll show you this one right here. Lori Chavez DeRemer, who is the labor secretary. She represented previously a congressional district in Oregon. She pretended that she was pro-labor, but then as soon as she was testifying to become the Secretary of Labor, she was asked, like, do you support the PRO Act, the most important kind of pro-union piece of legislation? And then she was like, no, I don't support that at all. And I'm like, well, okay. It's like, just, these are totally phony people. But here she claims that right now, consumer confidence is at an all-time high. Here, play this clip.
Mentioned private sector jobs, and the president talked about it as well. 84% of the jobs that have come online have been through the private sector. That is what grows the economy. And so the consumer confidence is up, and we're seeing the reinvestments. And as the president leans in on lowering the interest rates, those business owners can borrow more money at a cheaper rate and reinvest even more.
Yeah, none of it is true. Quite just making up things. And that's the Secretary of Labor. And I show you that on Labor Day, that you have a labor secretary who doesn't support the most important piece of labor legislation, protecting the Right to Organize Act, or the PRO Act. So if you're in the labor movement and you support Lori Chavez DeRemer, who doesn't support your right to organize, I'm a little curious there. And I'm talking about Sean O'Brien from the Teamsters.
I was going to say, though, it's like you see all these kind of sellouts, people who are just basically feeding working people to the wolves right now. You see Lori Chavez DeRemer, you see Sean O'Brien, who are just doing everything to go actually against working people. And then they have the audacity to celebrate Labor Day. And do you remember what Lori Chavez DeRemer's big thing was when they had that, like the last time Trump was actually seen on camera, when they were saying all those things about him in that meeting, and it was embarrassing. We played the montage with like, you're the greatest president of all time, and we love you. Oh my God, you're incredible. The thing that she said, and this was supposed to be about laborers and worker and what we could do to improve workers, was, Mr. Trump, did you see your big, beautiful face that we rolled out in the Department of Labor? That was what she was proud of getting done for labor. That's not getting anything done for labor. That's trying to suck up to Donald Trump and putting up this dictator style banner in front of the department. I want to see actual progress. But the fact is, this administration just lies about everything, worse than like North Korea lies about things. Like, those are just bald faced lies that we are seeing from her, from Trump. I mean, 8 trillion, 15 trillion. They're just making up numbers more than we're even taking in total revenue, period, and in total value of goods that we're importing, period. They're claiming that we're getting the tariffs on. He's then running the scam where he says, we're going to give you these tariff rebates based on the money, but the money is not even nowhere keeping up with the deficit. The deficit is at record highs. The debt is at record highs. None of that is being improved whatsoever. Small businesses are getting killed. Consumers are getting killed when they go to the store. And I've even seen, because I, follow Donald Trump's social media platform and I see the comments he posts, I've even seen him post a lot of things like, prices are lower than ever. Prices are so low. And even the people to Donald Trump go, where? Not by me. The issue is, though, what Trump is good at and what these Republicans are good at, and what a lot of these people are so brainwashed into thinking, is they go, not near me. Prices are higher than ever for goods. Like beef just cost me $12.99 a pound. These are the comments that I'm seeing on Truth Social yesterday. But then the next sentence is the one that always bothers me. And herein lies the issue, is that these people don't realize they're the marks, because they then go, it's because of the Democrats that these prices are high. It must be because of my Democratic governor or my Democratic mayor. It can't be those tariffs that are doing this. It can't. And I just want to talk to these people and be like, well, snap out of it. Okay. Snap out of it. How could you not see what is happening here? And from what Donald Trump is doing in these cities and states across the country, like what he did here in Los Angeles at 0 point, I know I don't have to say this, but at 0 point was LA even under trouble whatsoever. The only thing that ended up happening when Donald Trump came in here with the military is a lot of small businesses shut down temporarily because they were worried about their staff, their legal staff, being harassed by the Trump administration and by ICE, then thrown in prison camps. And so a lot of restaurants around here shut down, and the whole city was kind of on edge. That's what Donald Trump did. He didn't actually help anything. But then they come out with these North Korea style statements saying how they solved everything and fixed everything. And you'll notice that Donald Trump basically has one move that he goes to with all of these issues. And that's he declares a national emergency for something that is not a national emergency. And then he uses that word emergency to say that gives me, as the executive of this country now, the right to step in and to do whatever I want, because you could let the state do it, but there's an emergency now that they couldn't handle. And going back to the first term, what's the famous phrase that Donald Trump said? Only I can fix it. So the entire crux on this administration of this second Trump administration is that only I can fix it. The entire country is in dire straits right now. Everything is awful. Everything is terrible. And I'm going to declare an emergency on everything. And I'm the one who could fix it. And the courts better recognize that. I don't need Congress. I'm just going to do this unilaterally. And what we're seeing is he is meeting his match in many of the courts. And Ben will go over this appeals court decision soon on the tariffs, which could completely, by the way, upend his entire trade agenda, his entire bullying strategy with countries across the world. The issue is ultimately, we have to see ultimately what the Supreme Court does with all of this stuff, because the Supreme Court often has been way too willing to say, sure, everything's an emergency. Donald, you could do whatever you want. And so at a certain point, are we going to see the Supreme Court actually rein this guy in? Or is he going to continue to say emergency, 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 and try to do whatever the hell he wants?
Exactly, Brett. And going back to your first point you made, as we are here on Labor Day, Donald Trump's face being draped over the Department of Labor, and that video of all of Donald Trump's team just paying him the most absurd Kim Jong-un style level of compliments in that meeting. You really have to look at that and take a step back and say, this modern day Republican Party, like these politicians, are the most pathetic and spineless, quote unquote, leaders that have ever, quite frankly, existed within a political party. Because for the party that used to portray itself as the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Like just get to work, pound the pavement. These people don't care about data anymore. What they care about first and foremost is glazing Donald Trump, glazing their dear leader, in spite of their constituents, in spite of many people who voted for them to get their offices. Why? Because if it's not good for Donald Trump in their eyes, these MAGA politicians, then it's not good enough for the Republican Party or the Republican voter. And that is just such a disservice to this country, Ben.
Everything that they've ever said that they're for is just the toolkit of a sociopath to try to win an argument where the only outcome that's actually wanted is for them to claim that they are right, or in this case, to seize power. So when they say they're for states' rights, they were never really for states' rights. It was just a convenient tool for them to say, well, the federal government that we disagree with is wrong on every issue because these should be states' issues. And if you apply a states' rights framework and you disagree with the federal government, the outcome is always going to be in your favor if you believe in states' rights. And then you seem smart by using an analytical approach where you win the outcome, right? Because the outcome is predetermined. Heads, I win, tails, you lose. It's the same thing when they say, in terms of the Constitution, we're very strict constructualists or we're textualists until they don't like something like the Second Amendment, which talks about well-regulated militias. So then they go, oh no, we actually do not believe that well-regulated actually means regulated in this context. What we have to do is go back and look at the totality of circumstances based on a historical interpretation of what the founders may have met. And then we can figure out what the outcome, is ultimately going to be. You go look at when they say that, that they internationally, that they were for, being, they were Russia hawks or this or that. At the end of the day, or that they support Taiwan against China. All of the frameworks that they create are just BS. Well, what they actually craved was cementing their power for as long as possible. And they were willing to embrace all of the things that they claim that they opposed. I mean, Donald Trump seizing portions of private companies like Intel, Donald Trump saying he's going to be doing that to more companies, AI companies, defense companies. I mean, wouldn't that seem to be a framework of the types of like Maoist or communist regimes abroad that the United States said it didn't support? Like, they can say that they're deficit hawks or this or that, but we know that spending is increasing. The deficit is increasing. They voted to raise the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. On that point, let me just make that point because I think it's an obvious one in terms of if you have MAGA people in your family. If we brought in $8 trillion, Donald Trump says it could be as high as 15 trillion. Why would we need to raise our debt ceiling by $5 trillion? Wouldn't we already have the $5 trillion if we brought in 8 already? Or if we brought in 15, wouldn't we have 3x what we raised the debt ceiling by? So shouldn't that go and tell you right away that they're lying? In any event, you have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on the weekend shows. He gets interviewed, and the question that he's asked by Lara Trump, because this is part of the ecosystem of a authoritarian regime with family members. I mean, just think about Saddam Hussein, right? You had Uday and Qusay, the idiot kids who were with the dad. Saddam had his photo everywhere. It's literally just like Saddam Hussein stuff. Like, it's just like Kim Jong-un stuff. The family members run it. The family members run the media. I'm going to play this clip, but listen to how Lara Trump even asks the question. Like, there are some people who say that tariffs are actually a tax on the consumer. Tell us what's really happening here. Watch how she asks the question here. Play this clip.
Of course, you have critics, and they will say that the tariffs are a hidden tax on the consumers here in the country. But give us the reality.
If they're so bad, and the American consumers paying them, why do we hear the European companies or the Chinese companies or the Chinese complaining about tariffs if it's all being borne by the American people? It's just not happening. When I talk about President Trump's economic policy, I describe it as a three-legged stool: trade, tax, and deregulation. So either we take in the income, or the companies bring their factories back to the U.S. And I can tell everyone he's equally happy with both.
Yeah, but none of that's happening. Our factories are closing. Okay. What's happening is that foreign countries are now changing their trade patterns and saying, we don't trust the United States. Why would we do a deal with the United States? We're seeing so many examples of a country that was previously going to buy American equipment or invest in America, saying, nope, we're going to be doing a deal with another country right now. It's crushing all aspects, from our defense industry to our farmers. Trump, because he doesn't like windmills and loves the way coal, big, beautiful coal, he's destroying major industries that employed lots of people here in the United States. And it's such a ridiculous thing. I mean, it's so basic that a company abroad or a country abroad would not like that the United States is making it much more difficult for them to send their goods into the United States by artificially increasing the price. And they're artificially increasing the price of the goods coming in from the foreign countries because a tariff is a tax on the importer, and the importer's not likely going to want to buy the product or can't afford to buy the product in the same quantity, or then has to pass it on to the consumer. So yes, it's a way to retaliate against the foreign country or the foreign company by taxing your people to disincentivize them to buy the goods. That's why the foreign countries don't like it. It's why it's like
just be honest about it, right? It's like
be honest.
That's the whole point of tariffs, is to raise the prices. Like, that's literally the function of a tariff, is to raise the prices. And theoretically, the idea is that you make something so insurmountable to buy because you've raised the tariffs on it that the individual back at home says, I'm going to buy this American version of this product instead. The issue is that the way free trade works and the way products are built, especially complicated things like computers and cars, is that there are many components of these that you can't even get in the United States in general. There are many things that come in the United States and out of the United States and back in the United States, and they're hit with a tariff every single time that happens. And the businesses pay that, and the businesses pass that along to the consumers. They may try to eat it for as long as they can. Eventually, they're passing those costs on to the consumers. And there are products where there are just no American industries that are there to be able to do this at cheaper costs. It just doesn't exist for many things. So just be honest that your goal here is to try to get American-made versions of these products. And you're doing that by raising prices on the American people. If you can at least make the argument like in a genuine way, I'd at least respect it. Like, yes, you are going to feel pain about this, right? You are going to get higher costs. You've noticed that prices are getting higher in these industries, but you got to suck it up. It might take 20, 30 years to build these industries here, but that's our long-term goal. If you want to take that approach to the whole tariff thing, then okay, be my guest, but don't tell people they're not spending more on goods when they are obviously spending more on goods. And also, don't take this dumb approach of just broadly doing tariffs to anything. Tariffs aren't inherently evil things. They are not inherently evil things. Tariffs can be effective, but the way that tariffs have been used in effective ways throughout American history is to pinpoint very specific industries, very specific products, very specific countries. The way Trump's doing it is just like, okay, everything. Just if the whole world is tariffed, and oh, you made a mean comment about me, or you arrested somebody who tried to launch a coup on your country, okay, 150% tariff, 175% tariff. That there's no logic behind what he's doing here. And I think that's the biggest issue with this sort of policy. I think any person who studies economics, anybody who's in business, will acknowledge that tariffs have a place, that some forms of protectionism have a place in the economy. But then you got to be honest about what Trump is doing right here, that there is no thought behind it whatsoever. Zero, zilch, nada. And then his people get out and they just gaslight the American people about what they're doing.
And Brett, to your point, so someone may go, well, then why would you even have tariffs at all? So let's just say there's a foreign country and they heavily subsidize an industry, and their goal is actually to harm an American industry, right? So they engage in this like dumping of their product, which they subsidize to make so super cheap to then flood the American markets, to destroy the American companies as a way to attack an American industry, right? In a specific example, you may go, okay, assume that country's China, or assume that country is whatever. You may say, okay, no. We see what you're doing. You're trying to literally take our companies out of business. So we're going to try to stop that by doing a tariff, by disincentivizing our importers from getting those products. But we have a comprehensive plan here, because here's the industry we're trying to protect. Here's how we're going to do it. We have backups because we have free trade agreements with this country and that country as well. So it's not going to destroy the consumers. We're very surgical with it. And you can make that argument to me and I'll go, oh, I get it. That's why you did that here. But what Trump is doing is saying, you know what, India, we think that because the real reason with India is India didn't nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize while Pakistan did. So all of this kind of stems from Donald Trump wants credit for stopping the war between India and Pakistan, which Trump didn't do. And Pakistan's giving Bitcoin money to the Trump family group with a company that Trump family made public. And so Trump and Modi got into a fight over that. And Modi's like, I'm not giving you credit for ending the war. So Trump comes up with the pretext, oh, because you get your oil from Russia, we are going to be retaliating against you for getting your oil from Russia. But Trump, you've laxed all of the sanctions against Russia. You've allowed Russian banks to now participate in other ways. ExxonMobil's now speaking to Russia. Russian diamond industry is now talking about the U.S. You're not imposing the same strong sanctions against Russia, but you're mad that India is buying oil from Russia when you have Iran, which is basically selling its oil as well to Russia and China, and you've removed the sanctions from Iran. So my point is, none of it makes sense. Then you tariff India 50%. And then so what does it incentivize India to do? They're just going to do business with other people eventually, maybe take a short-term hit. Trump did the same thing with Brazil. What's Brazil doing? They're forming stronger relationships with China and elsewhere. And then what's happening to our farmers, like our soybean farmers and farmers and other products? They're like, wait a minute, no one's buying our products anymore. We can't export anymore. No one wants to buy it. And then on top of that, you cut USAID, which farmers relied on a lot to get food out to starving people because the Trump regime wanted to kill millions of people by shutting off their food supply overnight, which the Trump regime did while wanting a Nobel Peace Prize. Then you start to destroy the lives of farmers. So the point is, let's just be freaking logical here and understand what's going on. Let's focus actually on the data. And maybe there's areas where we can figure stuff out and go, oh, I get it. But that's not what the Trump regime does. It's constant gaslighting. It's crushing our economy. It's crushing the dollar. It's crushing our alliances. And that's just the facts. And it's not because I hate Donald Trump or I'm an anti-Trumper. I'm a pro-factor. I like facts. I like truth. My background's a lawyer. I like to show evidence. I like to understand these things and these concepts so I can say, that's good. That's bad. You know what's bad? Covering up for freaking sex traffickers. That's bad. Okay. You know what's bad? Cutting pediatric cancer research. That's bad. You know what's bad? Gutting the lifeline for rural, low income individuals to buy homes. That's bad. I want to talk about that when we come back from our last quick break of the show, our Labor Day edition of the MeidasTouch podcast. Let's take our last quick break. A reminder, the MeidasTouch Canada division just opened, Meidas Canada, led by Charlie Angus. Subscribe to Charlie Angus' YouTube's channel, Meidas Canada, passing 100,000 subscribers today. And while you're at it, become a member of our YouTube channel. Join, subscribe, but become a member, and you can gift memberships to others. It's one of the ways we grow. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back after our last quick break of the show.
Life moves fast, and sometimes you just need a way to relax, recharge, or stay focused without overcomplicating things. That's where Via comes in. Let's be honest, I know you know this. Life's a lot. Sometimes you want to chill, sometimes you need to focus, and sometimes you just want to feel good. That's exactly what Via is made for. Via is the go-to brand for effect-based hemp products that are actually designed to do something. Whether you're looking for deeper sleep, better focus, more balance, or just a gentle high, you'll find something that fits your vibe. Personally, I love the Via Dreams sleep gummies. They help me unwind at the end of a long day, and I actually notice the difference in how well I rest. It's become part of my nightly routine. With different products and strengths, Via lets you fully customize your experience to fit your needs. From their award-winning effect-forward gummies, each formula is crafted with a purpose, like maca for energy, L-theanine for calm, or THCV for clarity. These aren't just generic CBD products. Every gummy delivers a targeted effect you could actually feel. And the best part, Via legally ships across the USA, discreet, direct to your door, no medical card required, and backed by a worry-free guarantee. So if you're 21 or over, treat yourself to 15% off and a free gift with your first order using our exclusive code, Meidas at viahemp.com. Plus, enjoy free shipping on orders over $100. That's VIIAHEMP.com and use our exclusive code Meidas, MEIDAS.
The weather is heating up and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend that you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating, so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Now, using those silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, no matter the weather, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle Made sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than the sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Upgrade your sleep as the weather heats up. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Meidas at checkout, you'll get free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is the target. Now here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document. They use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property, and you won't even know it's happened. That is until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. So, when's the last time you checked your home title? If your answer is never, you need to do something about it right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Meidas at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Protect yourself like I did. Go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code Meidas. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Meidas. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
Let me just briefly talk about that court opinion on Friday. I've covered it on Legal AF. I've covered it on hot takes that I've done here myself. Key ruling that Donald Trump does not have the emergency powers, authority to declare tariffs against the world. The court looked at a law called IEPA, this International Economic Powers Act that Donald Trump claims that there's an emergency. And this federal circuit court in a 7-4 decision says, look, it's simple. We look at the statute. It doesn't say the word tariff anywhere in the powers. What you could do is maybe, do specific sanctions against a country, freeze bank accounts, but it doesn't give you unilateral power to tariff the entire world or tariff portions of the world. The court says that the power to tariff is the power of Article 1 of the Constitution, which is Congress, because Congress has the power to tax and tariffs are taxes. Thus, it is a power of Congress. And so if Congress wanted to give up one of its main powers in the separation of powers, you would think that it would use the word tariffs, or at least a similar type of word, levies or something else, in the statute, which it does not do. This is what's called a major questions doctrine because it impacts such a big, broad issue. And they said, look, Congress has used the word tariff in other laws, statutes or laws, in other laws, and it's been for very specific times, very specific amounts where presidents have limited authorities because Congress would want to guard its main taxing power, one of us, the tariff power. So why have Congress created other laws that allow the president to tariff in very small surgical ways? Why would they then create this International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA, and then allow the president to do whatever he wants? That would just destroy why would they even address tariffs in other statutes is basically the court's analysis. So now the tariffs remain in effect, even though they've been declared unlawful through mid-October, so that Trump has the opportunity to appeal to the United States Supreme Court. We'll see those appeals to the Supreme Court, but that's the basic 129-page ruling in a nutshell right there, Brett and Jordan.
Yeah, and then we'll see what the Supreme Court ends up doing here, but I thought this appeals court analysis was spot on. I mean, they're not saying that tariffs are illegal, as we've been saying the entire time. It's like, it's the way you do it, right? You can't just call everything an emergency and then do whatever the hell you want. And that's what that's how Trump has been running his entire presidency.
How about this? Congress passed the law. If you like these tariffs, right? Donald Trump, present what you did, which I don't even think you can because I'm not even sure you know what you did. Frankly, I don't think the countries you are doing it to really know what the tariff is or isn't because there's no paperwork behind it. There's no paperwork. Like, what are we talking about? There's no paperwork. There's no contracts. There's no documents. This is just, I believe I said this. You believe you said this. It's just not professional. This is why I say this shouldn't be a Democrat, Republican thing. It's just unprofessional. The most important issues facing the economy, you're not going to say, let me write it down so we all know what's going to happen. That's why Japan canceled its meeting with the United States last week. Why would its trade minister want to come back to the United States and deal with whatever the hell happens in that weirdo golden bordello Oval Office that looks like Jeffrey Epstein's living room? But I did all
and Ben, just look at what happens when you do things the wrong way. I mean, we're seeing it in real time right now with the tariffs. If you look at Canada, shout out Canada, there's a massive boycott of American goods in Canada right now. You're seeing companies like Jack Daniels coming out and saying our sales are cratering. Nobody is buying our product in Canada anymore. You're seeing this across the board. You're seeing tourism absolutely plummet to the United States. Just ask anybody you know who works in Vegas. It's absolutely devastating right now to the Las Vegas economy. Just ask what the opinions of the U.S. are around the world right now. Think about all of these retaliatory measures that countries throughout the world are taking, all for that to potentially be for Trump's whole plan to be blown up by a court decision because he didn't do it the right way. Just think about the position that puts the United States in, that Trump does this move illegally, then gets all of this backlash, screws up the economy from all of this. And then at the end of the day, this all could be completely reversed by the courts while all these other countries still have all of these retaliatory measures against us. And even if they were able to take back those retaliatory measures, these people who live in these other countries are not going to get the taste out of their mouths about what Donald Trump did to them. They are still going to be boycotting American goods, and there's still going to be an issue. So you got to ask yourself, was it worth it to do it this way? Because the deficit, higher than ever, as I said, the national debt higher than ever. It doesn't seem to actually be helping these problems. You ain't getting those rebate checks. Hate to break it to you, MAGA. And so it's just a problem on top of a problem on top of a problem. And now everything's in limbo. World leaders got to be like, what the hell do we even do now? Like, what a freaking mess that Donald Trump has created right now in the United States. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, this is going to be appealed. We'll see what the Supreme Court does. And if they're going to let Donald Trump once again get away with just having unilateral power under the guise of everything's an emergency. But we'll cross that bridge when we get.
It's just absolutely pathetic. And it's why we've said on the show before, it's why you don't tariff by vibes, right? You need substance. You need to actually understand why these tariffs are being implemented, not just saying what we alluded to earlier, not alluded to. What Donald Trump said was, how these people treated me. That's one of the bases of how he chose these tariffs. It's like he's picking out of a hat the countries and the tariffs and the percentages. And to your point exactly, Brett, the reputation of the United States of America on the global stage it's just forever tarnished, right? Because if somebody like Donald Trump can come into power just like this and just destroy our relationships with our allies and our closest allied countries on these baseless tariff measures at the drop of a dime, how can we be respected power again across the world? How can we expect that sort of mutual, at least understanding of, hey, we're all in this together. Let's do our best and roll up our sleeves as a global world. Let's do this. We can't. Is just in layman's terms. We can't expect other countries to treat us seriously anymore.
If our corporate news was honest, the level of propaganda that they devoted to all of the lies they said came out of that meeting with Donald Trump and Putin in Alaska. Oh, Putin is open to a ceasefire because Donald Trump said. No, he isn't. Putin's open to a bilateral or trilateral meeting with Trump and Zelensky because Donald Trump said. No, he didn't. Putin's agreed to security guarantees in Ukraine because Donald Trump said NATO likes security guarantees. That didn't happen. Okay, if you were being honest, you would say that was probably the most devastating foreign policy meeting in the history of the United States. While the meeting that just took place in Tianjin with Xi Jinping, Modi, Putin, and all of these world leaders, as they were laughing at the United States, I don't think our corporate news, maybe they know it, but I don't think people who don't watch the MeidasTouch Network appreciate the nuclear bomb that is this meeting. That China, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, okay? You just exaggerate your Midas. You don't like Trump. No, I'm just giving you the freaking data, okay? Right now, China just asserted that it's leading the world. And other countries across the world just showed up and fell in line and said, yep, we trust you far more than we trust the United States. Openly and brazenly, we trust you. Xi Jinping was waiting for this moment, but he expected it to happen 10 to 15 years down the road. He was going to be patient, but Trump just handed it to him right now as a gift. So Xi Jinping just took it and said, okay, we're the leaders now. We're running the show. And trust me, Europe does not think that America's running the show anymore. Canada doesn't think America's running the show. Australia doesn't think America's running the show. They're all trying to now, they're like, oh, we have to de-risk the United States. Crap, we are in trouble. We thought that the United States, this is what our closest allies are saying. Donald Trump now talking about a kill switch on weapons so people are saying, we're not buying your F-35s or your ships or why would we buy it? You're talking about kill switches. We got to buy it from other places. You know, the one place that Canada has to figure out what it's doing is these F-35 purchases because its arsenal of other warplanes have the F-series, and it's hard to just automatically say we built a model based on the F-35s and now we're going elsewhere. But trust me, if they could go elsewhere, they would try to. So they're kind of stuck with this review over what do they do with the F-35s. But no one wants to buy American stuff like this anymore. And the long-term impact is going to take a very, 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 this is not some overnight, it's just going to be fixed. It gets worse next year. It gets worse the year after that. The one thing that we have to be very diligent over long term, especially as we build this network, is not let these MAGAs in the future blame the firefighters for putting out the arsonist again. And when people going, oh, look, Trump was going to do 15 trillion, but the new president came in and you screwed it all up. Well, we're the victims. It was going to be so great, but the courts messed it up for us. No, we have to be aggressive in saying, y'all are the reasons you screwed this all up. You screwed the American dream. We know it was you. I'll just give you a few data points, then I'll talk Epstein. Just a few data points as well. California Governor Gavin Newsom, I think, puts it perfectly. He says, Trump believes the government does things to people. He does it to them. I believe the government does things for people. I think that's an important distinction right there. So Donald Trump uses the government to take away pediatric cancer research. kids' cancer research? How sick are you? They take away mental health funding that would be needed to identify the shooter, for example, in Minneapolis, or future shooters. Or they always talk about mental health. Yeah, mental health is a major component. The biggest one is the fact that guns are out there, these weapons of war without common sense gun control. But another aspect is, I agree, mental health is an issue. So let's solve for both. And oh my God, we could also do thoughts and prayers too. We can do mental health. We can do common sense gun reform, and then I'll give you thoughts and prayers. But I kind of rank it gun reform first, mental health, and then my thoughts and prayers. But my thoughts and prayers are meaningless if we don't do the other things. And you're not doing the other things, but then you're going, oh, let's just pray. Let's just pray. And then when people have a logical conversation with you and go, we need more than thoughts and prayers, what do they say? You hate prayers? You hate praying? You hate God? You're not a Christian? You hate religion? You hate the flag? You what? And then that becomes a narrative. It's like, dude, just shut the heck up and be freaking normal and let's solve problems together. So they get rid of mental health research. They get rid of the rural homes grant program that helps 85% of their own base. 1.3 million homes were created out of this grant. And the Washington Post, an AP and ABC, they all featured, I think it was AP who ran the first one. They featured this story of a lady who voted for Trump, Heather Coley. She lived in Tennessee. She couldn't afford an apartment in 2021. When Biden was in office, she applied for this grant. She was able to afford her first home. And the way she repays former President Biden for being able to move into her first home off a program that she was given when Biden was in office was to vote for the other guy. What? You voted for the other guy, and then the other guy took away the program. 85% of the homes that were built, it's an important program, were MAGA homes. Who do you think these farmers are? A lot of them are MAGA voters that Trump is screwing over. And I do lots of videos where I think the latest study from Equus Research and a few others is like 11 to 15% of MAGA claims they're going to be voting Democrat. But you still have lots of people like, I don't really like what he's doing with our workers. I don't really like what he's doing with our farms. I don't really like what he's doing with our homes. But would you still vote for him? It would be a toughie. It would be a toughie. He's destroyed your life. Well, what do you think the role of a government is? You were living fine, with struggles, but the guy literally screwed you in the worst way ever. You still make the woke stuff and the trans stuff and all this stuff has infected your mind so much that someone who literally hates you. By the way, one of the posts that Donald Trump made recently as well, and he's obsessed with this. It's based on a lie, though, also, that Newsom wants to build affordable housing in the Palisades and not allow rich people to buy homes in the Pacific Palisades. The story's based on a fabrication, but just assume the story was accurate. Affordable housing in areas for all people to live in. I don't think that's a bad idea even in of itself if it was a true story. Affordable housing. And by the way, when they're talking about affordable housing, they still mean like homes that are $1 million+ by the way. But Trump's like, what a nightmare that would be if homes that were affordable were built in this area. So what Trump's just saying, and he said it loudly before because he has a golf course near the area as well, is we don't want you here. We don't want the poor people in these nice areas. Get the hell out of here. And that's his view about all of this. Pediatric cancer, mental health research, rural homes, grants for low-income students pursuing their undergraduate degree, getting rid of that, changing the climate change assessment at the EPA and at the Department of Energy to allow toxic waste and horrific things that will end up killing us to proliferate once again, to remove all environmental regulation. Overnight at 1 a.m. in the morning, trying to deport 600 Guatemalan orphans without putting them before a judge. Like, to me, okay, it's so cruel. You're going to deport 600 Guatemalan kids who don't have parents, and you're just going to ship them back to Guatemala even though they're here. But let's just say, look, we have a program where we've done a deal with Guatemala and we're going to make sure these kids are safe. Look, they're not citizens. We can't, I don't agree with this, but I'm giving you a devil's advocate perspective. In this case, a real devil's advocate. But we have a plan with Guatemala. If we let these 600 kids in, where do we draw the line? But they're going to be taken care. Let's just assume that's your argument. Why would you do this at 1 a.m. in the morning? Why wouldn't you say, hey, we've got this plan. We want to go in front of a judge to bless this because we have the legal authority. So we're going to give you 5 days notice. Let's go in front of the judge. Let's get it handled. We'll figure it out. And it is a little cruel, perhaps, but we're giving you a process and we have made sure you're safe. These are human beings. These are people's lives. These are children. The party that loves thoughts and prayers so much. You don't want to pray and think about these kids who you're going to kill. And so much we see this over and over and over again. And then in the realm of the MAGAs covering up for the pedo sex trafficking ring, like quite literally we started with showing you the Trump QAnon stuff, which to me is why Trump is going heavy in posting this QAnon stuff. That Trump has discovered a secret government deep state pedo ring that's covering up the biggest pedo sex trafficking in the United States, and Trump solving it. That's what that image means with the Q+. That's their coded language for what's taking place, okay? Which Newsom is mocking right now. They're literally doing it in plain view. Like they're literally moved Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security facility. They've rewarded her with immunity. They're dangling a potential pardon for her. They're treating her incredibly well. What did she do? She was convicted of sex trafficking. Oh, she helped cover up for Donald Trump. Oh, that's what she did? Okay, well, let's get the files out there, right? The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed the files. What do they turn over? 33,000 old files that had already been released before, that are not new at all, that are not the actual files. You think we're stupid? Like, release the freaking files. And then MAGA Mike Johnson, we got to pray. We got to pray. He goes and gives us what his real intentions are. Watch what MAGA Mike says about the Epstein files. He goes, I think we are compliant. I think, just so you can see what their plan is as we go forward. They turned it over. We did it. What are you talking about? We are being transparent. Here's what MAGA Mike says. Let's play it.
So the discharge petition from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, I hope I'm using the right word, will ripen soon?
Well, no, I guess it would if they get the right signature.
If they get the signature,
but it's now a moot point. It's not even necessary. I mean,
you don't think it's going to happen?
There may be a floor vote of one measure or another. We have our own resolutions to do all this, but it's sort of not necessary at the point because the administration is already doing this. They're turning it over.
So I don't think that Congressman Khanna and Massie think that yet, at least from what I've heard. And I don't know that the 218 people that they think they have as signatories of that think that either. If they do get the signatures, will you allow that to come to a vote on the floor?
We might not even wait for that. We have our own resolutions to affect this same thing, but the process is playing out as it should, and very soon the American people will have that information, and they should have had it all along. That's my view.
But you can't guarantee there'll be a vote on the discharge petition.
There probably will be a vote of some sense, but we've got to get everybody collected again and build consensus around that.
There is consensus around it. What do you mean, a bill of some sense or the resolution of some sense? Just release it. You've been subpoenaed. That DOJ was subpoenaed. Just release them. It should have been released at this point, August 19th. That was the due date of the subpoena. And instead, they turned over 33,000 fake documents. So where the hell is it? And again, Brett and Jordy, I'll leave you with this. This should not be a Democrat issue, a Republican issue. This should just be an issue. Like, you're lying to us. Everything I think I framed today, it's not, oh, you hate Trump, so you say it. I'm just giving you the logic. If you gave me logic back, we could have a fair and open discussion about all these topics, but I'm just laying out the logic. One programming note that we will be streaming on Wednesday, September 3rd, the press conference by the victims of Epstein and Ghislaine. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie will be hosting it. It will be streamed here on the MeidasTouch network. It's at, I believe it's around 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific. So set your calendars and make sure you are ready to watch it here on the MeidasTouch network. Brett, I'll let you go.
Here's the fact. If MAGA Mike doesn't want to get the truth out there, we'll do our best to get the truth out there. So tune in. You're going to hear, directly from the Epstein survivors right here on the MeidasTouch Network. It's such a, honor for us to be able to broadcast this, to everybody. So keep a lookout for that link. We're going to be staying on this story. We're going to be staying on every story. I know some people like to say, why are you focusing on his health? Isn't that a distraction from Epstein? Why are you focusing on Epstein? Isn't that a distraction from the military? Why are you focusing on the military? Isn't that a distraction from Epstein? But there's just a lot of shitty things that this administration does. And so we're going to do our best to follow all of them. We're going to continue to bring you coverage on all of them. So be sure to, check us out and make sure you're following us on all platforms. Make sure that you also add the show, the MeidasTouch Podcast, on audio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go add the show. I want to say something also that we've been doing that we've been getting such an incredible response to, and that is our Meidas Health initiative. Meidas Health, unfortunately, we can't trust the health professionals in our government right now, especially with Donald Trump and RFK Jr. purging our government agencies and putting in lackeys. So one of the ideas that we had early on during this administration was that we're going to assemble this Meidas Health initiative to push back against the false information that's coming in. And so we're now on about episode 15. Ben also did a bonus episode. The host is Dr. Vin Gupta, who does an absolutely incredible job. I'm sure you've seen Dr. Gupta before on MSNBC, and he was such a crucial voice during the COVID-19 pandemic, helped get a lot of people through. And he is interviewing top experts. And you could listen to those episodes right here on the MeidasTouch Podcast on audio. So make sure that you're on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, listening on audio. We're going to have some of the CDC officials who resigned recently, who were ousted by the Trump administration. They are going to be on upcoming episodes of the show. We just had the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics on over the weekend, so you can check that out now. But these are real conversations. Think of it as like a shadow CDC, as like a shadow Department of Health and Human Services that we are running right here from the MeidasTouch Network. And the reason we're able, of course, to do all this is thanks to your support. We're trying to hit all these areas and make sure that we're covering all the bases, whether it's all the kind of daily news that's coming in, or whether it's stuff about health, or whether it's stuff about Ukraine, or whether it's stuff about Canada. On the Canada note, I know Ben mentioned it a couple times during this episode, but Meidas Canada has launched, and super exciting. Former member of Parliament Charlie Angus taking the lead on that. Great to partner up with him. He's already putting out some videos. To access Meidas Canada, it's free. You just go to youtube.com/Meidas Canada, youtube.com/Meidas Canada. Subscribe now. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers in day one. I mean, just think about that. But we're so excited to be able to elevate, Canadian news, Canadian politics via authentic voices in Canada. And Charlie Angus is also going on tour throughout Canada as part of this Meidas Canada initiative. He talks about it in the most recent video that he put up there. So definitely check it out. The expansion is real, folks. We are trying our best right now, right? It's an information war. We're doing our best to get information out far and wide on all the topics that everybody needs to know. So thank you for continuing to spread the word, to tell your friends. We never spent a penny in any marketing at all for the MeidasTouch Network. It's all spread through word of mouth. There's nothing wrong with spending money. I'm sure at some point we might want to, but there's not, but I got to say, it's all been 100% word of mouth thanks to you. So thank you for sharing these shows with friends and family and just telling people about it. It really means a lot. Jordy?
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.